What's up guys, on the previous episodes on the bench series, we talked about retraction and depression for bench press as well as the setup. I'm Clinton from Technic Matters. Today, what we're gonna do is we're gonna pay more attention on the leg drive. Before we start on the leg drive, I feel that it is very important for you to understand the true purpose of retraction and depression as well as thoracic extension in the bench press. If you don't understand that, check out our previous episodes, because if you don't understand that, there's no way the leg drive will be effective. Why is leg drive important? Leg drive serves a purpose as an anchor for your arch. Think of it this way, your arch is like a bridge and both ends of the bridge requires an anchor to create that stability and keeping that bridge stable and stationary. Your arch is like a bridge and one side of the ankle is your upper traps and your neck, and the other side is your leg drive. In this video, we're gonna teach you how to create that leg drive to provide that stable position. We also want to remind you that the leg drive should be kept constant throughout your execution of the bench. The moment you unrack the bench, the leg drive must be there and it has to be constant. Now that you have understand the importance of leg drive, let's go straight into how to create the leg drive. Essentially, the leg drive is created by your quads, but you have to require a bit of hip extension at the lower body. As you can see, when you create an arch, right, naturally your hips will be extended. So what you can see from the side is where your hips is higher than the knees. So when your hips are higher than the knees, it means that you have created a certain amount of hip extension. The next thing, which is more importantly, is how much quad drive you create against the floor to maintain that arch stability. I want you to follow this guideline, and the guideline is a 60-40 rule. 60% of the force and focus should be on the quads against the floor, and 40% is the hip extension. What do I mean by that? Visualize yourself trying to create a 70 or maximum percentage of hip extension and minimal percentage of quad drive. So what that action you have created down there, it becomes a very passive arch and passive leg drive. So yes, you have created a very stable position, but you cannot feel yourself pushing against the floor. So this is what we meant by passive arch and passive leg drive. There's no intention, you're just creating that position. So this is not what we want. What we want is that active quad drive and feel against the floor. Okay, which is why the 60-40 rule is quite important for you guys, and we practice it among ourselves as well as for our athletes as well. Once again, it is 60% of your focus and force on the quad drive against the floor and 40% of the hip extension. So this is basically what you should feel about the quad drive. Okay. Now let's go in depth into the leg drive. How do I create it? As you should know already previously about the 60-40 guideline, we should have more action and focus on the quads. How you should create the leg drive is as such. Firstly, you put the ball of the foot onto the floor, okay? Then you want to bring your heels down. As you bring your heels down, you are trying to create that kicking forward motion, okay? So you should feel like you're sliding forward against the floor, okay? So next thing, once you have understand that already, the next thing is when you're lying down and you try to create that ball of the foot down against the floor, heels down and slide. When you slide, what you should feel is you are sliding your upper back and your neck over against the bench, okay? So this action is natural because there are no angle at the top, okay? But don't worry, because when there's a bar, when there's a weight in front of you, and when you unrack the bar and when you create that quad drive, all the weight will be balanced because the force downwards from the bar into your shoulders and into the bench will counter with the force driving backwards from the bench. We have talked about the importance of the leg drive, how to create that leg drive, that 60-40 guideline. Now we're gonna talk about the differences in where your foot positioning is. We encourage you to try all three and see which one feels the best for you. The first one is where your heels is elevated. Some people enjoy to put themselves in this position and they can feel quite a lot of quad drive. So this is alright if you can feel an adequate amount of quad drive and also if your federation allows you to create the heels up. But ultimately, it serves the purpose of creating that stability against the upper back so that you can maintain the arch when you're benching. The next one is more in the neutral position, which I enjoy personally myself because I can follow the 60-40 guideline, whereby I feel 60% of my quad action against the floor, and I can also feel my hip extension, which is about 40%. So at this position, I can feel comfortable, I feel more stable, my arch is in a stable position as well, and as I do it, I can naturally engage my quads against the floor, so I can feel that constant quad drive at all times. Last but not least is where your foot is all the way at the end, where your hip extension is kind of less, but there's a lot of quad action. So this is quite effective as well, provided that your shoes are pretty good against the floor in terms of the friction. But I wouldn't advise you to do that if you are benching and you are not confident about your shoes. Ultimately, everything and how the foot positioning is serves the same purpose. The constant leg drive will help to create that stability against the upper back and your neck to create the stability of your bridge. We have reached almost the end of it. We're just gonna talk a little bit more about heels versus flats in terms of what shoes to wear when you bench. Personally, it depends on how you feel. If you enjoy wearing heels and you feel solid in that position, then you wear heels. If you like wearing flats and you can feel the floor all the way by wearing flats, then so be it. What we see is actually as such, if you are wearing heels, especially for a shorter person, it benefits you because if you are slightly shorter and if you wear flats, you can feel a lot of hip extension and not much of the quad drive because basically you cannot reach for the floor. Your foot cannot touch the floor. So when you wear a pair of heels, it helps to reduce that hip extension and creates more quad drive feeling. So if you are wearing flats and you feel balanced about the hip extension and the quad drive, then maybe flats is the one for you as well. We really want you to try it out and see which one works better for you. Ultimately, is trying to feel good, trying to feel stable. If you cannot feel anything like that, then you should do a switch and see how it goes. Now that we have understand all about the leg drive, we have tried to give it everything we know about the leg drive. Go back, go and try it, and I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you really think that this video is very useful, please feel free to share with those in need, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.